Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. It's my podcast, right? Sam Brownell and former co-host Darnell Duff going to be joining us here and there throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Sweet.
excited about it.
Whenever you're not doing the MJHL thing.
The MJHL, well, I mean, you got a little bit of a break, so I'll pop in when I can. Today I think we're having some pretty good things to chat about, so I thought it'd be a good time to come back and have some fun with you, Jets.
And it's our first podcast
It is,
together.
So I'm doubly excited about that.
Yeah,
Well, I would hope
great
so.
things. Unfortunately, we got to start this podcast off real heavy because Hockey Canada not doing great things. You've heard about it. Had to have heard about it at this point. How do we want to talk about this one?
I think we could start by just informing, if anyone hasn't heard about it, a couple months ago, allegations came out that 8 players from the 2018 World Junior team sexually assaulted a girl after a banquet in London, Ontario. And then earlier this week, it came out that members of the 2003 team, I guess I should say allegedly, because it's all still in court, so legally just have to say allegedly, members of the 2003 team also group sexually assaulted a woman. So it's in court right now, I guess, for the first one, or the investigation's still going on, but there's been a number of guys who have come out to start saying they weren't a part of it, which is somewhat, for the most part, I guess, narrowed it down, but that's basically the situation. And I guess I should also include Hockey Canada. It came out this week, has had a fund going that they would put a certain amount of registration fees into, and that fund was used to
so they don't have to go through insurance. They were paying for the cover-ups themselves.
Yeah, they were essentially using that fund to pay for out-of-court settlements with anyone who made allegations against their players, which is
not cool.
Disturbing?
Disturbing is the correct term, yes.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunate that, a governing body we thought so highly of would do this. It's just, it was crazy to hear the first one, and my heart goes out for, the one that was, the female that was affected, allegedly, and then you hear of what happened in Halifax, and I think the quote was like, it was terrible what happened in Halifax back in 2003. So, I mean, this is terrible to see the ramifications, what could come out of it, but just disturbed and upset and unfortunate that, the governing body that all of us love so much, we're big hockey fans, obviously, something would happen like this is just awful.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, hockey is violent gentlemen, and that's always what I thought. I've always thought very highly of hockey players, and it's just like, hey, like, this isn't a gentlemanly standard that we should all be living up to. So, as bad as this sounds, I stand up and call your guys out if you're seeing any kind of garbage like this. If you're on a team, we need to be better as fans of hockey and as any hockey players that are listening to this. So stand up and tell your boys off if they're being awful.
I feel like this almost feeds into like what some people portray as hockey culture. Like even within hockey teams having rookie parties, hazing. I know Daniel Carcillo came out a couple of years ago with what happened when he was playing junior hockey when he was 17, but you're still having rookie parties now, and you're hearing some of these rookies have to do some pretty bad things. Vets, it's not at the same magnitude as it was in the past because that stuff isn't allowed anymore, but this just sort of feeds into what some people, and it's giving those people ammunition into what hockey culture they believe is, and that's the most heartbreaking thing because this is a wonderful sport and something that we can bond in, but then something like this comes up and it's just truly unfortunate.
I think a major issue with it as well is just how high up in the ranks this went. It wasn't just a couple players. This went all the way up through Hockey Canada, through the organization that people trust with their children every year, through the organization that people give a lot of money to have it be at such a high level, and turns out they were using that money for these kids' registration fees to settle these claims, and it's just the magnitude of it as you go up into the ranks of Hockey Canada. I think they just needs to be completely redone. They need to clean house anyone that could have possibly had any knowledge of these situations or this fund or anything like that shouldn't be a part of Hockey Canada anymore.
Basically, like what the Blackhawks did with their organization, with as far as the powers that knew about it being dismissed. I think 100% those guys have to be gone.
So you worked with the MJHL quite a bit this last season there, Darnell, and seasons past. How do you think this affects Hockey Canada and leagues like the SJHL and others? Because like BCHL just dropped out of the Hockey Canada, so do you think many things like that are going to continue to happen?
Well, I mean, I think you're the BCHL, I would see Hockey Canada, because they believe they were the premier league in Canada, and you can argue that they are the best league in Canada or they aren't, but I think it's even affecting guys who, like the Helinka Gretzky Cup is coming up in a couple of weeks. You have the World Juniors coming up in 3 weeks. Right now you have the U17 World Hockey Championship training camp going on right now. None of these players are getting any exposure because Hockey Canada is getting all the negative exposure. Now they should be getting negative exposure, but this is hurting some of those guys that should also be getting talked about in a positive way because of all the nasty things that have happened dating back to 2003. And I'm sure there are many other things that, who knows, maybe in a couple of months something else is going to come to the limelight over the past few years that has happened as well. I would not be surprised. So I think this is going to, it certainly has a taint on Hockey Canada for quite a while. And I think the younger generations are certainly going to pay for that. I even saw, on the Twitterverse, you can't really believe it, everything that happens, but pulling out TSN not broadcasting World Junior Games. That's all speculation at this point, but that's going to hurt those players that are going to have the opportunity to play on national TV, get that exposure. So it's just an unfortunate situation, and I hate to, I feel so bad for all those affected in this horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah, and like Hockey Canada had reported that 1 to 2 incidences have happened in the last 6 years, which I think we're going to see a whole lot of this. And don't get used to hearing about this. Make it uncomfortable every time you hear about something like this, because it's incredibly unfortunate. It's shitty that it happened, and it could continue to happen.
The conversation needs to continue.
Yeah, we need
Absolutely.
to carry on with this conversation, and it needs to be uncomfortable every single time. We can't let this be a comfortable conversation if we hear about another team going through something like this.
And I think it also starts with the players with that, and a great example of the opposite side of hockey culture is the dressing room of the Edmonton Oil Kings this year, accepting Luke Prokop.
Yeah, Prokop.
Yeah, the Predators prospect.
Who was the first openly gay player drafted to the NHL. And the guys after the season talked about, and Luke talked about it himself as well, how much that room came together. And if anyone said anything to him on the ice, his guys stepped up, his guys had his back. So it's just, I think there is that other side of it. And I think players are what will start the change in that culture. I do think, as I said before, Hockey Canada needs a complete upheaval in the top level, but it will also start with those players. And as you said before, step up if you see something. Don't let your teammate be an asshole just because he's your teammate. Get in his face, tell him off.
It's going to happen, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's nasty players. I don't know if nasty's the word, but there's going to be those guys out there that are dicks in the dressing rooms. It's going to happen. And that's, to your point, like, call them out. Like, this has to stop. Yeah. This crap has to stop, because this is a beautiful game. We love hockey. It's just incredible. But when you have stuff like this, it taints the reputation. And up until, these allegations, Hockey Canada was seen as, for the most part, a pretty good governing body.
Probably one of the best governing bodies within Canada.
Now it's just
up till about the last 3 years ago, and then
gone downhill.
Yeah. You go from the highs of highs and you go to the lows of lows. So this is where Hockey Canada's at.
And we'll see if they can get back to the highs of highs. I mean, I sure hope they can, but it's a process. It's a conversation has to continue, but it's going to take a while to get back to where they need to be, to where they're actually respected as a governing body.
Exactly. I wouldn't be shocked if they end up folding just due to the fact that sponsors pull out, government funding is going. I assume a ton of parents are going to pull their kids out of hockey this year here in Canada, so it might be a ripple effect that we see 10 to 12 years down the line.
I don't know if they'll fold. Just because hockey's not going to stop.
No, but there could be a lot of.
You do need that governing body. I think the answer is not folding. I think it is that.
But I think there
complete
will be
upheaval.
provincial bodies that come up here, so we're going to see a more unified MJHL that maybe sees more younger teams kind of go through that system. Like, I don't know. I'm not an economic
And I
expert.
mean, where's
by
the
any
money? If they don't have any sponsorship, where's the money going to come from?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
like-
need money
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
And,
It's,
and parents can only afford so much.
Yeah.
Everyone,
Hockey's
you know,
already so expensive
Yeah.
in Canada.
there's no way you can
They're-
cough up another $2,000 for your kid to play.
be astronomical fees. So something has to be done. I'm happy that. Wow,
Rick Westhead coming out and doing his thing.
fantastic.
Great
He
work on his
does.
part.
Does some great work.
Just absolutely.
Terrible
He's-
news, but he's on his A game, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
The fact that these were, put under the blanket for how many years? We're hearing about this one in 2003.
19.
19 years later, that's just absurd.
Yeah. So Rick Westhead doing the right work, and yeah, I hope that we can continue to see. I don't want to see these continue to happen, but we shouldn't be shocked when they do come up, but be uncomfortable. Is that
Yeah. I think
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about the uncomfortable
There's a-
conversation, but it does need to happen. We do need to be better with our hockey players and hockey culture.
So that's a shout out for this could be a learning lesson for so many people, and it needs.
And should be.
Yeah,
it needs to
Absolutely.
If it's
Absolutely.
not, there's a bigger problem than
Yes.
just that.
Yeah. All right, moving on to more exciting and less heartbreaking things. Pierre-Luc Dubois signing a 1 year, $6 million deal with the Jets next season. What are our thoughts on this one?
I mean, you saw, you basically saw it coming when he didn't file for arbitration. The team didn't file for arbitration. It was one of two things. He was going to accept that qualifying offer, or he was going to get offer sheeted. I'm glad he didn't get the offer sheet, because this gives, I don't think he would have signed a long-term one, but this gives the Jets another year, and maybe the bridge has been burned, maybe it's too late, but gives the Jets another year to try and convince him to stay in town, to try and fix their locker room with a player of his. Like, he's an unbelievable player. If they can fix it and keep him around, I'm so happy, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I think the bridge has already been burned. It'll be great to get him for one more year. Whether he gets traded partway through this year, who knows? But we'll see how it plays out, and I'm really looking forward to watching him, Kyle Connor, and Cole Perfetti dominate some teams.
It's going to be fantastic hockey this year, especially if Perfetti and Ehlers can stay healthy for the majority of the season. Like,
Absolutely.
that top six is going to be sick. Even the third line, like, it's just going to be unreal.
Yeah,
And I don't know what Bonus is going to be doing, but I listened to him talk on one of the other Winnipeg podcasts that talks daily about sports. Shout out to who we're talking about here.
subtle.
But just listening to Bonus talk yesterday about the team and what's going to come forward with this team, I'm excited. And I don't know. I think 1 year with PLD, I know people are like, should we boo him the first night? No. Give him lots of love. Give him lots of
Give
respect.
him every reason to stay.
Yeah.
All he cares about is winning.
And I think Bonus. I think this starts with coaching, because I think Bonus is super well respected coach. Obviously has had success. I think he is perhaps could be the guy to change this disaster of a dressing room around. Because right now that's what it is. It's a barn fire. It needs to be fixed. And if it is fixed, I think you have a realistic chance of keeping Dubois. If it's not fixed, or at least taking that many steps towards that, this is going to be his only years, or his final years at Jet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think really what it comes down to is, are the Jets in a playoff position come trade deadline day? Because if they're in a playoff position, PLD finishes his year as a Jet. And if they're not, adios to, I would say, probably 2 or 3 Jets that we genuinely like.
This team has to be too good not to be in a
There's so much talent,
How?
especially on the top end. And at the back end with Connor Hellebuck in net. I wonder about the new style of defense that the Jets will be playing with Bonus, if it will be as good for Hellebuck, because I know teams got a lot of high danger chances, but it wasn't a lot of passing across the slot. It gave Connor Hellebuck time to square up and take those shots, which is what he loves doing. So I wonder if a new system that comes in will benefit him as much as the previous system did.
I sort of relate it to when Barry Trotz was with Washington, and he turned Alexander Ovechkin around. Ovechkin, before, played no defense. He was strictly offensive, put up crazy, ridiculous numbers. Trotz came in, instilled his defensive strategy, and then all of a sudden they win a Stanley Cup. Ovechkin has his plus-minus rating is just dramatically better, and now bonus with the defensive style, perhaps he can instill that in the Jets and change some things around with Scheifele being more of a defensive player and buying into the own zone, because that's where it has to start. You have to start in your own end, and I think Bonus is going to be a good coach, just knowing what he loves to do to instill that in this team.
Well, I think Bonus working with young guys. If you watch what he did with a lot of the stars in Dallas, he turned a lot of those young guys around, and he still got Sagan and Ben their time that they needed. So he's going to split the minutes fairly amongst all these guys. And the one thing that he said is just like, play like family. You played well, you're going to get your time. So
well, and Maurice said when he left, he said he lost the room. I think Bonus is going to have the room. I think he's going to be respected in the room, and I think that's going to be a big part that Maurice didn't have. He lost the room, unfortunate, but I think Bonus is. It's going to take him some time, but I do think he's going to have the room what you need.
Okay, so Pomo and Pompton are right. Whoever the
Compon.
Compon. There we go. Compon and
I had no idea what you said. I was like, what?
Pomo and Compon in Florida. How is that going to turn out?
I like Jamie Compon. I think he's a great coach. He wasn't around the team a lot last year. I believe his wife was sick down in the States, so he, with COVID and stuff, would join the team on some of their Western U.S. trips, but I don't think he was around too much. But I do think he's a good coach. I don't know. I'm still shocked they didn't keep Burnett in Florida. I mean, he was a Jack Adams finalist as an interim coach.
And also like one President's Trophy.
You lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean,
also in 4 games, but the boys went partying on game 4. They knew they were done.
Well, the Lightning are just that's just tough to come up against. The Lightning, they're just so
only
so
one
good.
team's beat them in the playoffs in the last 3 years. I just and they have Matty Tkachuk. They've we'll see how he does.
I think Spencer Knight's going to be. I hate that contract they gave Bobrovsky.
That's such a misstep.
Like you could have done so much more with this team if you didn't give him what feels like $50 million a year. It's ridiculous. But I think Spencer Knight. I mean, we saw him at the World Juniors, had a lot of success collegiately. I think he's gonna step up in a big way.
I think he should be a starting goalie somewhere in the NHL come next year.
He is.
And the fact your backup's going to be getting paid $10 million.
That's a rough one. But I mean, I think any goalie that paid over, I think Hellebuck's the only exception, but any goalie's paid over $6 million is an overpay.
And Hellebuck's barely over 6 for a Vezina winning goalie.
He I believe he is paid pretty fairly.
Yeah.
Last year was his one weird anomaly year, but other than that, I think Hellebuck
I don't think he was the issue last year.
No.
I think no one on our team played well, so it was how is the goalie going to play well when everyone else isn't?
And the thing that I've been trying to go back because people just keep commenting that this team is not good enough to be a playoff contending team. I just keep looking at it. I'm like, everyone on this team competes. They put up good points. What the hell went wrong last year? And I just go back to it's the systems and a lack of trying from certain veterans.
Yeah, I think the change of coach is going to do wonders.
Refreshing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you had Maurice for so long. He obviously had his favorites and played his favorites. That's no secret. So I think having a new voice in there that is an established coach who has had some success in recent years with a team that probably shouldn't have been in the playoffs, I think that it's going to really turn the Jets around. And I think all of the people who are like, oh, you can't take a non-playoff team and expect them to be a playoff team just because of a coach, that's not the case. They were an underperforming team last year. And I always go back to these guys are the professionals, and Rick Bowness said when he came in, I didn't want to go to a rebuild. I wanted to go to a team that could compete, and that's what I saw in the Jets. He coached against the Jets how many times last year? So he saw what they were capable of doing. Yes, they had an off year. The room was a mess. Guys were just all over the place. There was injuries, all that stuff. So
Plus the weird COVID time off that they had in January and December.
yeah, I mean,
It was like 3 weeks, no Jets games. It was a bit
it was
of a
a
slog.
long break. Yeah.
I feel bad for Dave Lowry too. Like he was sort of thrown in with the Wolves. Like he's not a head coach in the NHL. I think he's a championship coach in the CHL. I mean, he's had some success. He came from the Brandon Wheat Kings where he led a pretty decent team. But he was put in a real tough spot.
He really was.
I don't know how he could have succeeded with what he was left.
Absolutely. But speaking of championship coaches in the CHL, I think that's a good wow.
We get
That's a good transition. So close. I think that's a good transition to the Jets filling out their coaching staff this week.
Yeah.
Which is another. We got 2 pieces of Jets news in 1 week. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, mid-July. Life is good here.
Life is good.
I don't know how we're going to get through the rest of the summer.
We'll figure it out.
So we got Scott. Let's just talk about who they are. So we got Bonus as the head coach, Scotty Arneal as the associate, and Brad Lauer and Marty Johnston as our assistant coaches. Marty Johnston coming in from the Moose. He's been an assistant coach for 2 games with the Jets last season.
And he's had some success he's worked his way up. He was coaching CIS hockey not that long ago.
And as a champion there and won 75% of his
Carlton,
games.
yeah, they won almost all of their games. Their record was ridiculous. So I think he's worked his way up, he's earned this spot, and I was really happy to see it when they named him one of the coaches.
Yeah, and especially the fact that he's got this connection with some of the young guys with the team too. I
feel like half the players have played for the Moose while he's been there.
Yeah.
So.
And then championship coach, of course, Brad Lauer with the Edmonton Oil Kings. And Edmonton has been so good over the last few years. Unfortunately, they didn't get the job done with the Memorial Cup, but they were so dominant. They made a Winnipeg Ice team
look bad.
Look like the Swift Current.
Well,
not taking away from Swift Current or anything, but they dismantled the Winnipeg Ice.
They lost 1 game in the playoffs.
They were incredible.
Yeah.
And Winnipeg had an 11th overall pick in Connor Dickey. Their goaltender
and
was
4th
so good all year.
Or 5th overall pick.
Connor McLennan.
Yeah.
They were so dynamic, but Edmonton was so special, and Lauer really was a special coach. I think this is a huge add. I mean, I know it's junior hockey compared to professional, but you add some championship pedigree, I think that's a huge signing for them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And working with these young guys, I'm sure they're going to figure out how to work with the older boys. I am excited about this team coming up next year.
I think it's from top to bottom, starting with Bonus, I think this is an awesome coaching staff.
Yep.
I really do.
And I wasn't sure at first with Scott Arneal. It felt like it was a Chipman thing, just kind of shoehorned in there, like, hey, no matter who, we knew he was going to be a coach, no matter who the head coach was. I'm glad he's not the head coach.
Yeah.
But I think he will add a lot to the defensive side of the Jets organization.
Which is going to be huge, because you have him, and then you have Bonus, both putting that on the defensive. That's gonna bode real well, because you already have a goaltender, a Vezina goaltender.
You also have an all-star backup in David Rittich.
He's good, really good.
He needs to get more games.
Yeah,
they should not sit him like Nashville did last year, which is probably what's going to happen.
Well, I think there was just inconsistency with the Jets goaltending last year as far as a backup. Like, you never knew what you were going to get. But I think if you put Rittich in, you know you're going to get.
I think that was the start of the season.
At the start of the year.
But
Comrie was 10-5-1 with a 9-20 and a 2-5.
He
was unreal.
He was good. He was.
Yeah,
but not just during the end. He proved himself early on.
He did.
He won his first 5 or 6 games.
Yeah,
I think there's not. I think at times he was inconsistent. I think Rittich in this position, he's going to be consistent, and that's what the Jets need. They need Hellebuck to be the Hellebuck of old, and they need Rittich to be a solid backup. I mean, you have an all-star as a backup goaltender who can buy into that, playing, however many games he plays. That bodes real well.
And I think that goalie room is a place where people can thrive. Like when Laurent Brossoit came in, no one in Winnipeg had any idea who he was. Now he gets paid almost $3 million as a backup. And Comrie, everyone was doubting him when he came in. So Connor Hellebuck and Wade Flaherty, having guys come into the room to work with those two, has obviously worked the last couple times. So maybe Rittich will have a turnaround year. Maybe he'll be back up to where he was when he was getting those solid reps as a starter.
And he feels that's dangerous.
But I mean, like, if
that's
Wade
a solid
Flaherty
one,
or
too.
Rick Bowness can just decide, can let these guys battle it out, and let's just say we have Rittich as a 1B and Hellebuck as a 1A, you start swapping those guys in and out and just let them
Now,
hit that rhythm.
I guess on that side too, how does Hellebuck react if Rittich comes in and he's unstoppable and he gets on a little bit of a roll? How does Hellebuck react from that?
Because Hellebuck loves his games.
He wants to
He'd
play every
82
game.
if he could.
Absolutely, but if Rittich comes in and he can't be beaten, how does Hellebuck react from that?
You better hope he shows up one game to
Rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know, but it's not like Hellebuck's had an easy career on his way up. He was playing junior hockey in Texas. Like, he's obviously seen some adversity, and I don't think Rittich is going to be good enough to steal Hellebuck's net, but if he is getting close, I think Hellebuck steps his game up to a whole new level and
if Hellebuck
shows
does
the
that,
world why he's a Vezina winning goalie.
if Hellebuck steps his game up that one more notch,
Oh man,
Good
like
luck.
if he steps
Good
up to a
luck to James.
925 goalie and like a 201 goals against, this team's gonna be stupid good.
The top six can score.
I'm drinking all the
game if that's all they need.
I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid on the
Same.
Jets this season, this offseason. Like, we're going to believe. I love the offseason for this because I believe that the Jets are going to go all the way to the third round this year.
They're going to the cup. It's coming home, boys.
We're coming
It's
home.
coming home, boys.
You're going to piss
Okay,
off Gary.
maybe not.
No,
if they do, Dubois, he's staying.
I want
If they
to.
win,
I want
he's
to boo
gone.
Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that
Who
be a
Gary
treat?
Bettman at Canada Life? How great would that be?
I mean, where else is he? Like, that might be the place that boos him the hardest. He took our team away.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario for Gary Bettman is Winnipeg having any sort of success.
The worst
He
case.
smiles when the team loses.
Yeah. Well, like, imagine if the Jets won the cup before the Coyotes. Like, how broken would Gary Bettman be at that point?
If they won the cup before the Coyotes could even sell out a 5,000.
He wants Arizona in the league so bad.
I mean,
It's
I think
unbelievable.
he's paying out of pocket
Has
to
to
keep the Coyotes in Arizona.
Yeah.
He probably has season tickets there, like an entire section.
How can you afford tickets? Unless you're a student, because they're getting dramatically reduced prices, obviously, because
But
they're
they're
student.
but they only get 2 sections for that
Yeah,
team.
which is
So
going to be a pretty cool student section. But if you're, I would love to be there. But
That would be sick.
if you're not a student, the tickets are absurd. Like, so
Wait, they couldn't
how?
sell. They couldn't give them away last year.
yeah,
Now-
so I don't know how anyone's going to spend $350 on a ticket down in Arizona.
You know what? I'm wondering, how's the camera angle going to be? Because you see, like, the secondary rank at the World Juniors before it got called off this year. I think it was Red Deer.
Yeah.
Maybe. The camera was so low.
Yeah, it was
I
terrible.
mean, it's not an NHL rink.
No, but I'm sure.
Watching games.
I'm sure
But,
they're going to
like-
put what needs to make it.
I'm
solid.
sure they will, but the primary camera angle, the roof can't be high enough
Yeah.
to have it what every other rink in the league has it as. There's more than 5,000 seats in the.
But
In Red Deer, yeah, that's
Well, no,
50, I think that's 15,000.
But there's
people
also more than 5,000 in the lower bowl of the Jets.
also keep in mind this is Division One hockey. Division One hockey's massive compared to major junior. Like I think the facilities, like North
I
Dakota,
don't doubt
for
it's a
instance.
beautiful
So
facility.
I think the roof is pretty high. I've never been there, obviously,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
don't know. But I'm pretty sure this is a pretty sick rink.
But North Dakota's 13,000,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But
yeah.
ASU is like one of the richest universities
True.
in the United
Yeah,
States,
so
so they'll throw a couple schmil at that arena to make sure it's all good.
One of the best things is the Coyotes don't get their own logo on the ice.
Yeah, and they don't play what 3 home games in the first
Yeah.
two months of the season.
It's
Because
still
their
not as,
dressing room isn't ready.
yeah, it's still not as bad as the Islanders last year, who didn't get to go home until the first
Yeah.
two months.
What is the Islanders' new rink ready?
I
Yes,
think they're
yeah, I
starting
think it
this
was-
year, and it's going to be unbelievable.
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful.
man.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
well worth the wait for Islanders fans.
What are tickets going to be like there, though?
I don't think it'll
It's
be
the
too
island. They
Yeah.
like they're blue collar like us,
Yeah.
so they'll get what they get. They'll probably pay reasonable, but not great prices.
Hopefully, Ryan Pollock can have a good year.
Oh man,
Absolutely.
good old
Love
Park
Got to cheer
Lander.
for him.
Yeah.
You know what? We kind of talked a hypothetical a little bit with our goalie, so let's jump over to that. This year at the World Championship of Hockey, Adam Lowry had a pretty phenomenal year, if I do say so. Do you think he's going to end up like Andrew Mangiapane in Calgary, where the both of them are just like step up their games and they should be second liners, but they'll just kick ass at the third line?
No, I don't. I love Lowry. You can see that jersey back
Literally, he loves Lowry.
Totally didn't get that for free in a raffle. But he's one of my favorite players on the Jets. He's one of the better defensive forwards in the NHL, at least as far as like a third line guy goes. Unreal penalty killer. I think he will bounce back from his numbers. His numbers were down this year, and I think he's going to bounce back. Like, he had 21 points in 79 games. The year before, he had 24 points in 52. So I think, well, no Andrew Kopp on his side, which I guess Kopp wasn't with him for a lot last
Morgan
year.
Barron, though.
Morgan Barron. But I do think Adam Lowry's going to bounce back a bit this year. He was playing with a bunch of different guys last year, but I don't think he's going to be that Andrew Mangiapane 50-point player. He barely has 50 points in the last 3 seasons combined.
I think he's like a 30-point guy.
30.
I don't think what you get now, what you've been getting under the off year, but last year, what you get from Adam Lowry, I think you're going to get a great defensive forward, but I don't think you're going to get a guy who's going to give you a whole lot more than what he's giving you right now, which is serviceable for sure.
And for the price, I mean,
you can't go wrong.
No, and like the fact that he's a guy that will go out there, he'll score on the shorthand, and he'll also go fight anyone in the NHL.
Absolutely.
Like,
well, he can swing the momentum because he can score that shorthanded goal.
So yeah, so I guess I should let everyone know I've been hired by Flames Nation.
Boo.
I know, big
Or-
boo, but it's my hockey job, so I'm happy. Either way, so I've been watching lots of games, and I watched all of the Flames and Jets games this last week. I've been putting in a lot of time. And, man, I just love watching Adam Lowry so much. Just, like, screw with guys and just put out those big, ugly hits.
I think it's also, I think there's going to be a weight off his shoulder now.
Now that Dad's gone?
Dad's gone. I think that was probably one of the worst things that could have happened
Yeah.
to Adam Lowry, was having Dad on the bench. A cool story. Great story.
I think as an assistant coach, it was fine.
I just feel there was too much other stuff going on having your dad on the bench.
Yeah.
And we'll see this year. Maybe I think it's beneficial that Dad's gone.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. I think it's
Cool story, though.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
What do you think? How's Pierre-Luc Dubois' dad gonna feel this next season with how his boy's been acting?
Is to work the extra shift at Home Depot. He gets the graveyard shift stocking shelves overnights to make up for it.
I don't like how Dubois acted. I don't like how his agent has acted.
I think that's just his agent being a dink.
I don't think it's professional.
Is this the new NHL? Is this what we're gonna? You're seeing it with the 2016 draft class right now. Kachuk just did it. Dubois done it twice now. Laine did it. These guys have attitude issues, and they're forcing their way out of teams before the team control's done.
Is that the issue with the team itself, or is it the players themselves? Because like if you've got let's just use the Jets as that example, where you've been putting Wheeler and Scheifele on this pedestal because of Pomo. You know, it's not a great look for the team. It's not a great look for anyone, really.
Absolutely, and maybe it is something. Maybe it's just going to be a Winnipeg problem, and it's going to continue to be a Winnipeg problem because these guys don't want to be here. But I think it's going to be an issue. Like, there's a reason the team control is there, because it levels the playing field. It's the same reason the salary cap's in place, so these small market teams can compete because they have to draft and develop. You're not going to get those free agents. It's either trade or draft and develop. And if guys are forcing their way out before that team time is done, I know Dubois said he's going to test free agency, but if everyone did that as soon as that year went up, I mean, he's going to be, 26 by that time? 25.
25
by that time.
1 year.
Then you're never going to be able to build a team. So I guess maybe it's on the city, maybe it's on the organization to make it a place where guys want to stay and guys want to be, but
I think winning here's a lot of that. Look at Edmonton right now.
Absolutely.
Everyone's flocking out that way.
What a wonderful story that is.
Oh man.
Oh.
Calgary, same thing. They just started figuring out how to win, and I think Kachuk just
As everyone leaves.
Okay, well, Johnny Gaudreau, he was there for 12 years. He put in his time. I think
He was there for 12 years.
he was there for 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I
How
know.
old's Johnny Gaudreau?
He's 30.
Wow. That's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah, right? Does not feel like he's been in the
No, it
NHL for
doesn't.
12
He
years.
still looks like he's 16.
The same thing with the Nuge.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think the big thing here is winning here's a lot of it. You're going to have guys like Ehlers who stick around long term, and if Ehlers finishes as a Jet, that's going to change a lot of the attitudes.
It was 8 years.
Was it 8?
Like he was he was drafted.
Oh,
in 2011.
okay.
He
Right,
was
and
drafted 11 years ago.
And then
He played one game 9 years ago, and then he played for them for 8 years.
Was he in the Russian league at one point?
No,
No?
Hockey East. He went through college.
He actually
He,
played
he
with-
was like 26 when,
Okay.
or 24 when.
But even
he's
so,
up for the
he
call,
put in
but-
he put in his time with the
Yeah.
Calgary Flames. Even though he got, the fans were trying to run him out last year, and I think that's kind of where it happened.
where it
Like,
started,
We
yeah.
got to be kinder to our boys here. That's the big thing.
Just when he says he wants to win, and then he goes
Just
to
to Columbus.
That's
He and Patty Laine are both going to put up 100 points, and the next best player on their team is going to have like 60.
it's just silly. Like,
He's
why-
their winger.
you want to win, but you
Or
go
their
to Columbus.
center. Yeah.
But I mean, also at the same time, Johnny Gaudreau just might want to be in a small market where he's not going to get picked up and noticed. He's just there to play hockey, pick up his paychecks, go home at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Like, is Columbus a huge hockey city? I don't think so.
I think they've become a little bigger over the past year. This past season they were terrible, but I think Columbus. You're seeing more fans in the stands.
Yeah.
They've also had a lot of draft picks recently, trading away Seth Jones, and
Yeah.
like they've been building up some draft capital. So maybe they've got some young guys. I know there were a few guys that played for them at the end of the year coming out of college. So maybe they have some young guys coming up, and they're
Maybe there's-
thinking this is the time to make those big signings with Laine re-signing and Gaudreau signing.
There must have been something. Gaudreau has to be enticed some reason why he would choose Columbus. So it could be spot on where they're building, and maybe now's the time to make some noise.
Yeah. Whatever's going on in Columbus, good for them. I'm glad that they're picking up some big names. Hopefully those big names can
That-
find themselves here one of these
That
days.
Bjorkstrand trade was
All of
Dirt
them.
nasty.
that was surprising.
Really
Well,
like him.
Kekalainen said it was one of the hardest things he's had to do. I think he said that a few times about trading guys and such.
Yeah.
But they didn't get a lot for him for a solid player.
But I mean,
would
when
have
you
been
got
nice if Winnipeg wasn't on his no trade list and he could have come and played with his little buddy Nick. But
just leaving room for Yesapuli RV.
you're not
It's gonna
let
happen.
that
I'm
go.
gonna force it. If you manifest it, it will happen.
Yeah.
I'll just call up the Bison King myself. I'm sure he's got a phone number somewhere. God, I want Yesapuli RV.
Who doesn't?
Foolish people don't want Yesapuli RV. And I mean, like, the Jets, they have so much money left over, too. They've
A
got,
surprising amount, more than I was expecting.
yeah, well, I mean, like, even if you sign Appleton at $2 million, which I still think is a bit of an overpay.
That's overpay for sure for a guy you have team control over.
Yeah. And the fact that he had such a garbage season last year. too.
It's hard to fault him for that.
It is. It really is. But I mean, if you're going to be a GM and you're going to negotiate, you might as well.
I mean, I guess it's too late. It's not going to arbitration. But if it went to arbitration, the Jets would absolutely be using that. So,
Well, isn't he going to? I heard arbitration for Appleton for August 11th.
oh, so I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that's what I read. Is he was supposed to be one of the earliest people to get arbitration?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
very-
maybe it will go to I don't like that. I think it sullies the relationship. You look at the guys who have done it: Jacob Trouba, Andrew Kopp.
But
Obviously, both of them gone.
Kopp didn't even get up to arbitration. They were talking about it, and then they signed that deal right before they got to ARB.
I thought.
No, he never got to ARB.
I apparently have no idea what I'm talking about.
That
You're
or I'm
right.
just making
I
stuff
like-
up.
I like Mason Appleton, other than the fact he's a Packers fan. Can't fault him for that. So, he's from Green Bay. Yeah. But either way, I think Mason Appleton's a solid player. So I hope they re-sign him, and yeah, that leaves the Jets with some cap space still.
Yeah, and I mean, like, There's not many names, so I'm thinking that if they do end up trading Wheeler, and let's just say they retain a couple schmil off of him, like they can still bring in a pretty good player.
Well, there's not that much available still, but if you're trading Wheeler, you might as well try for Kadri. Like,
do you think Kadri makes up for it? Like,
I just don't think Kadri's the guy.
No, he's
the amount you're gonna have to pay him,
and
that's true,
not the guy.
And the contract length too. That's gonna be the big one.
That is for a 31-year-old who's had some injuries.
I don't think you want to touch him.
Like I like Kadri, he's a fantastic player, but no, I wouldn't be touching. I would go a 4-year deal with Kadri, but I wouldn't go anything longer.
Yeah.
No, I know. Like, I mean, get yourself the contract that you deserve and the one that's longest.
Oh, go get paid. Just don't make it on my team.
Yeah.
You gotta stay away from him.
So sure. I don't think there's anyone worth spending that much money left on the
so you got a couple of
free agent market. So I think you have to fill out the bottom 6, like that third line, get Lowry, some guys.
Just you grab $2-3 million guys and say go for it.
I mean,
take some spots.
You have to if you want to use your cap, which why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
bottom 6 is so important, especially when you get forward.
But there are a lot of young guys who
can come up.
I think Morgan Barron has to be on the third line.
If he's not, I'm gonna be calling shenanigans on a lot of things here.
But yeah, I think I just don't think you might have to overspend for a guy because it's the Winnipeg tax. But
but like I wouldn't mind seeing them find a $5 million player with that money and just like have a guy that can play up and down the lineup. Whoever that is, I don't know, but you're gonna have to trade for him at this point, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. If it's trade, trade is a whole different story.
No, but like if let's just say like I don't know how this all works out. I've had ideas and then I keep losing them. My bad. I think it's gonna come down to a trade, and I bet you we get like a middle 6 guy. Somewhere up and down the...
Yeah, well, if you're going to trade Wheeler, you need someone to replace him.
Yeah, well, you need somebody to make up those 80 points.
Absolutely.
You're going to need somebody to pick up the points from Stastny here as well.
Yeah, and I think a defenseman has to be a part of that trade, so you make, like, giving out, like, whether it's Brendan Dillon is the most likely, in my opinion, but you need room for Ville Heinola and Dylan Samberg. You just have to start playing them, or... there's no point in drafting players. I've
shouted this 1,000 times at you. It's Logan Stanley. That guy is soft. The amount of games where I've watched him be like... so this one game I watched, I think it was Ehlers got hit by Luch, and Logan Stanley gets in there, is like, kind of gives Lucic a shove, and Jansen Harkins comes in there and just like ready to go fight Milan Lucic. Like, that's a big ticket to go fill. And if Logan Stanley, who's 6'7", doesn't want to take the ticket with Lucic, then it's like, kick rocks, bud, you're not tough.
I'm scared to trade the big guy, because what if he turns out to be really good?
I feel like he won't, though.
I know. No, I feel like we've probably seen what we're getting from him. Yeah. But no matter what you do, and he's, like... it's not like sitting him in the press box would be the end of the world. Like, you don't need to trade him at that point. It's not...
But you could probably flash a 6'7" defenseman to some GM. Be like,
do you really want? Because there's going to be teams that are looking for a guy like that, and you can bring a replacement. And I don't think you keep a 6'7" guy sitting in the.
No,
you just don't think you can.
He's too big.
There's no room in the press box.
So like, you just send him off to Buffalo. You're like, Buffalo, give us a second rounder, we'll be fine. And I get it, you're losing that first round pick, but.
Yeah,
you just don't want to
get much more than a
you don't want to see Logan Stanley too much, especially if he does turn out. But you also
it's got to trade him to the East.
Yeah, trade him somewhere. If he does, you're not going to see him.
Yeah, exactly. 2 games a year. Oh no, Logan Stanley.
Or do you think he's bad enough that you do want to see him more often?
I think he's the guy that you're okay seeing, because I don't think anywhere he goes, you ain't going to get much more of Logan Stanley. Then you're getting, but with that said, I don't know, maybe bonus turns him around.
Maybe, and you look at a guy like Brendan Dillon, like, he's going to be here for 2 more years, but you still have some team control on Logan Stanley. It's not the biggest deal in the world trying to see if he works out. Like, maybe he gets a few more games in the press box than he did in previous years, but then there's that competition between those younger guys, and it's not just sitting the one guy, or sitting the 2 guys and having the one always play. There might be that a bit more competition, and that, again, the competition might be good for all parties in that case. But there needs to be room for Ville and Dylan Samberg. There just has to be.
Yeah. Oh,
Whether-
yeah. You got
whether
to get
it's
Samberg
20
in way more than
Whether
not.
it's 25 games each, there needs to be a spot for them.
Yeah, they should be switching out on a regular basis. Unfortunately, Laurie and Pomo just didn't see that because
Yeah.
let's just keep running it back. We'll see what happens here, boys.
At least we don't have to worry about those coaches anymore.
That is true.
Yeah,
I'm
lots of
really
prayers
looking
to
forward
all
to
of
seeing
the,
what Rick Bowness brings
I think
to
he's
this
going
hockey
to bring.
team.
Yeah, he's going to be. It's going to be.
We're excited.
They already have a good start.
Yeah.
Winnipeg's already off to a good start, and we're how far away from training camp.
Absolutely.
I think like 84 days, 82
Yeah,
days till the regular season, 56 until the first preseason game.
Wow.
Seems so far, but it's going to come up so
Really
It's
quick.
quick. It's almost August already.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
Time's clipping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
Life is
Well, that's been a fun July. Yeah.
just keep rolling on.
Do you guys have anything else to mention about the Jets this week?
I it's not about the Jets. I want to ask you just what's your favorite move the Oilers have made this year as an Oilers fan?
Well, I think I like a couple. The obvious is Jack Campbell. The team needed a goaltender. They got a goaltender at a good rate, 5x5. I mean, this is what the team needs to have extended success. I mean, they're favored right now to win the West, and I think they're championship contenders. I also love Evander Kane sticking around. Horrible human being, not taking anything away, but he is a really good hockey player.
Yeah, we're bookending this with hockey culture.
But I also like Matthias Janmark. I think Janmark's going to be a pretty good depth player. Had 25 points with Vegas last year in 67 games. So I think he's going to be a good depth. I think Holland has done some really good things. I mean, Patrick Kane now is being linked to Edmonton, and that would be massive. If
You do really want both those games in the locker room?
I think that's just going to be so.
that's-
Offensively, that'll be so gifted.
The poor people. Of
But
Edmonton.
but Kane's still a $10 million guy. He barely, what was it, like 30 points last year? Like he was.
Chicago also too was.
a dumpster fire.
It's tough to
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about Winnipeg. Some Winnipeg players last year because of what happened. It's hard to talk about Chicago because they were
Again.
everything going on with that organization. That was just horrific. But I think Edmonton has had a really good.
Old
offseason.
Kenny Holland circled back and be like, "Listen, you ripped us off with the Duncan Keith trade last year because you guys got Fleury for nothing. So we would like to get our Patty Kane for nothing."
Yeah, I think Oilers fans would be pretty happy to see it. But even if he doesn't come there, I think Campbell, you're getting a champion, or who I believe can be a championship goaltender. I think the contract, the term you got him is really good. I like Janmark and I like Evander Kane. I think it's been a great offseason.
Who wins the Pacific next year?
I think Edmonton does.
I can see that.
And that's not being
I
biased.
can absolutely
Realistically,
Realistically, if
The West, it's either Edmonton or Colorado winning it.
I wouldn't be shocked if Calgary's a dark horse, though. They would, with what they've done with that move.
I know, but you still lost two
100-point
players.
which is the first time that's ever happened that a team's lost two 100-point players in a single year. But I think their defense just immediately got better with Mackenzie Weegar. I think they're bringing in Jonathan Huberdeau, which I'd be shocked if he got 100 points. But if he picks up 80,
150 in last year.
115, but he's also
on the
third.
President
Yeah, on for
Trophy
sure.
winning team.
Yeah, and their only MO was score as many goals as possible,
Yeah.
which should be everyone's.
So you lost 200 point scorers, but you gained one, and you also gained Weegar, which is huge.
Yeah,
He's going to help
Absolutely.
out because Markstrom was a liability at times, especially against that.
Well-
he couldn't save a beach ball. But also Edmonton was getting a lot of grade A chances where Markstrom. Yes, Markstrom gave up some goals he shouldn't have, but I think you're adding Weegar. He's a top 4 guy,
yeah,
and
and
that's going to be big for this team.
I don't know. I just the boys at Flames Nation are real excited about this team.
I think there's a lot to be excited about
Yeah.
now with and especially I think Huberdeau, a lot of talk as well. It's just a loan for 1 year, so this ultimately is a garbage trade for. I think Huberdeau had the taste of winning in Florida with President's Trophy. He just wants to win.
Yeah.
If Calgary, I think it's the same thing with Winnipeg Dubois. If Calgary can win, I think you're going to see Huberdeau sign, and if he does, then you're looking at this trade and you're thinking Calgary made off unreal. And if they can sign Weegar as well, Calgary had a great trade.
I think if they can re-sign Weegar, they've won the trade.
Well,
That's
can
a
you
myth.
imagine Weegar and Huberdeau walking in free agency next year? They're making a run so they don't trade them. They lose first or second round, and the guys just walk, and then you lose in the span of 2 years, you
You lose
Yeah.
3
Gaudreau,
100-point guys.
Huberdeau, Kachuk, Uyghur.
Then that's real. Like, if
Then-
they don't re-sign those guys,
That's tough. But unless they can make a run.
It's the price you pay.
Yeah.
the price you pay to perhaps have some success. They needed to make a move.
It's a risk.
They had to.
They
Kachuk
took a
was
swing, and we'll see how
Yeah,
it turns
it could
out.
be a homer or it could be an out. But I think you had to try. Kachuk wanted out. I think you did the best you could probably tree living by getting what he got with Uyghur, a conditional first in 2025. Schwint, who nobody really knows about in Huberdeau. So I think if Calgary can have some success, they made out really good.
The guy over at Flames Nation who talks about the prospects, in love with Schwint. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
Schwint.
Schwint.
Yeah, he in love with him. He says like this guy is going to be legit. Like,
So that's
just give him a little bit of time, but he's going to be so legit. So
That's already 2 All-Stars. If Schwint turns out to be an All-Star, then a conditional first-round pick in 2025. I mean, this
If
is
they
huge.
re-sign, that's a huge trade for Calgary.
They hammered Florida in it.
Yeah,
yeah,
hammered.
absolutely.
Like, I'm kind of surprised Kachuk wanted to go to Florida, but
Maybe he really likes Paul Maurice.
I thought St. Louis was the place he was going to.
Yeah, it
everyone
sounded-
did, but it sounds like St. Louis didn't have the right pieces there. Like trying to get Jordan Kyrou and I can't remember who the big piece was there, but they're just like it wasn't going to work out.
Kyrie was so good.
Was Tarasenko not in there in some magnitude? I thought
Someone,
he was,
lots of people were like Tarasenko, and then other people were like Tarasenko doesn't want to go north, this and that. So it's been back and forth. And apparently, like GMs are just not wanting to trade for Russians right now too.
Yeah,
just
well,
with
yeah.
the world.
The world as we know it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I
So,
suppose.
yeah. Well, that's it for me. You guys got anything else?
That's everything I
Fun
got.
being back with the boys.
Got to save
Yeah.
something for next week.
Yeah, we'll
we
find
know
something.
Shovel Now's not giving us anything, so
Yeah, maybe we gotta go down to Mississauga or wherever he's at with his summer vacation home and just bother him until he gives us some new inside information.
yeah, just bug them.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll work.
They're on an island. We can
Yeah.
circle. We need some boats. We'll just circle them.
Just give us one piece of information, Kevin. Well, make sure to tell your friends, family about this podcast. We've been slowly been growing.
Your friends' family.
Your friends and your friends' family.
And your friends and your family.
Yeah, but I'm mostly just saying your friend's family. So go talk to your best friend's mom about this podcast. She'll really enjoy it, I promise. Yeah, have a great
Absolutely.
week. If you have any questions for us, feel free to send myself or Sam. Darnell, do you want to get a message at all?
Absolutely.
All right.
Why not?
Why not? What's your socials?
Darnell Duff.
Darnell Duff. Sam, you want to?
Sam Brownell Radio on Instagram.
And Angus Hout and Jets Nation, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's it for right now. TikTok as well. Follow us on TikTok. Otherwise, have yourself a great week there, ladies and gentlemen, and talk to you again next Sunday.
Go Jets, go.
Go Jets, go.